All right, gents, let's talk about routines. Specifically, what you should be doing daily, weekly, monthly, and even yearly. And understand, gents, I'm not saying you got to follow these routines to the T to be stylish. No, what I'm saying, if you want style to be effortless, if you want it to be just something that happens without you having to be reactive, well, gents, in my experience, you can make style simple by being proactive, by taking the steps daily, weekly, monthly that pretty much make looking good a given. So first up on this list, shower. Now, I personally prefer mornings. I'm sure a lot of you guys prefer evenings. Maybe you shower midday, right after the gym. The point is to shower daily, and maybe even shower twice daily if you're dirty, if you're sweaty, if you need it. And I know this sounds obvious, but you would not believe how many people I've met that they read an article, oh, I can get away with showering just once a week, once a month. Ashton and Mia, I'm looking at you. But seriously, the base of style is good hygiene, and it all starts with bathing or showering daily. Now, what about using shampoo on your hair? So there's a lot of talk out there about you should only shampoo your hair a couple times a week. Now, the key here is to understand the reason for that suggestion. The reality is a lot of guys are using a harsh shampoo that, yeah, you don't want to be using multiple times a day. It's going to strip away too many oils. It can dry out your skin. It can dry out your scalp. And the overuse of washing in soap, especially when it contains sulfates, is not a great thing. That being said, if you've got a shampoo that is made for daily use, that is gentle, well, there's nothing wrong with using that if you need to be showering 2 to 3 times a day. Yeah, I know some of you guys like to shower first thing in the morning. You maybe work out midday, and you coach Little League at night before you get into bed. You like to be clean. In that case, choose gentle shampoos, gentle body washes that don't irritate your skin and work for your needs. Now, sticking on the theme of washing, let's talk about your face. I do think that most guys should be using a face wash. Again, very similar to shampoo. You want to use something that's gentle, that's made for the skin on your face. And I know a lot of you guys like to use an all-in-one. You're like, hey, I'm using the shampoo. I'm washing my face with that soap right there. Now, I'm not going to say that doesn't work, but I am going to say that compared to a face wash, it's probably a little bit harsher. And personally, what I enjoy about a lot of face washes is you can get a little bit in the eye. It doesn't cause as much irritation. And again, because I'm showering in the morning, when I use a face wash at night, I have that right in my sink. And it's also a reminder to use a moisturizer. I specifically like to use a moisturizer when I get out of the shower and before going to bed. I try, but I don't always remember to use a moisturizer on my face. Next up, let's talk about oral hygiene. So you want to be brushing your teeth twice a day. When you brush your teeth, brush it for 2 minutes. And when you brush your teeth, I highly recommend you have a quality electric toothbrush. In my personal experience and from all the research I can find, guys, using an electric toothbrush properly, it's going to do such a better job of cleaning the teeth, removing plaque. And most of them nowadays have that 2-minute built-in timer so they ensure that you're actually brushing your teeth long enough. Now, after I brush my teeth, I routinely use a mouthwash both in the morning and the evening. And at night, I floss my teeth right after brushing them, and then I use mouthwash. And by the way, when it comes to flossing, make it simple. The traditional floss, like the long ones, I know for a lot of people that's a pain in the ass. I've been using floss picks for coming in on 10 years, and I find that they work for me. My wife, on the other hand, she prefers a water flosser, and it seemed to work good for her. My point here, find out what works for you, but take taking care of your teeth seriously. Next up, let's talk about deodorant. I don't wear deodorant on a daily basis. I made a video about this years ago. I only use deodorant whenever I'm traveling. Most of the time, I find that it's just not something I need in my life. But I do enjoy wearing a fragrance, as many of you guys know. So whenever I'm applying a fragrance, first up, I understand what I'm putting on my body. Is this a really strong fragrance? Is this an incredibly light one? In general, before I put my clothing on, I've got 2 to 3 sprays in the chest area, maybe 1 spray on each of the forearms, 1 spray on the back of the neck. Again, it depends on the fragrance and what I'm doing that day. If I'm going to be traveling, of course, I put on deodorant. I pretty much am wearing a very light fragrance close to the body that, you'd have to get close to me to be able to smell. If I'm alone, if I'm going to be in my office, if I'm not going to be breaking out a sweat, then I'm not wearing deodorant. I'm more wearing the fragrance. I'm testing out different ones that I'll be able to smell throughout the day. Again, the key here is to find what works for you. Next up, let's talk about shaving. So I work for myself. I don't film every day. I will say I shave pretty much before any video, unless I'm going to do one about shaving. And on the days that I am shaving, I usually shave right out of the shower. I take a 5-10 minute shower so the hair on my face is a little bit softer. I then will use a shave oil. Then I put over it a shave cream. Most of the time I am using a disposable razor. Yes, I've got safety razors, I've got straight razors and electric razors, but I find a simple disposable still works for me. And the key takeaway I want you to pick up on this is to prepare your face. Notice again, I take a shower, the hair follicles are softer, I put on 2 layers of protection, and then after my shave, I use an aftershave balm. So aftershave balms historically contained alcohol. That was to basically disinfect any cuts, but because of the stinging properties, that's not as popular. I use mostly aftershave balms that contain aloe, and in particular, when it comes to balms, I'm looking for products that are using natural ingredients because a balm does penetrate the skin. Now, this next tip I actually do the night before or before I even get into the shower. That way it's just sitting there waiting for me, is I lay out my clothing that I'm going to wear. Now, the advantage of building up the habit of doing this the day before is that you don't have to think in the morning. Because let's face it, there are certain days that you're running behind, something crazy happens, one of your kids has a breakdown, you're running behind, and for you to be able to jump in the shower, get out, and not have to worry about mixing and matching your clothing because it's already put together for you. Guys, this is one of those hacks that can just save you and make you feel so much more relaxed, knowing that this has already been taken care of. Your shoes are already laid out there. You know that they are shined. You know that this clothing combination is going to put together a great outfit. Guys, it just makes life so easy. And speaking of waking up, if you have trouble getting out of bed after the alarm, I recommend you have a large glass of water right next to your alarm. So I try not to keep my phone in my room. I've got a basic alarm that I have to get up, walk over to, and there is a glass of water. First thing in the morning, I am always thirsty. I slam that glass of water. And what happens? Within 10 to 15 minutes, I have to go to the bathroom again. And that's key, because even if after you turn off the alarm, drink the water, go back and lay back down, within 15 minutes, you're going to feel the pressure. Yeah, you got to get up and use the bathroom. I find it's a great way not only to start the morning with your first glass of water and stay hydrated, have the skin looking better, but also it keeps you from staying in bed. And last but not least, look at yourself before you leave the house in a full-length mirror. Not only do you want to look yourself up and down, make sure that you're good to go, check your teeth, check your hair, but consider posting a daily mantra. Basically, an affirmation, a quick saying that you say to yourself to psych yourself up, to get into the right mindset to meet the day. And I know that sounds a bit woo-woo, but let's look at the opposite. For the guy that's talking to himself in a negative voice all the time, I mean, we could all agree that's not a good thing, right? Well, think about it. Majority of the time, like we are getting hit with life with all this negative stuff, for you to have a quick mantra there about who you are, what you stand for, what you've accomplished, where you're going in life, and you just quickly say it. Here's the thing, even if you say it half-hearted, you can't but help it rub off on you. When you remind yourself you're stepping out that door to represent not only yourself, but your family. You want to be the shining example for your little girl because you know in her eyes you can do no wrong, that you are the man. Guys, you can't help but smile. You can't help but feel gratitude, grateful for the day that you've got to go out there and show the world what you're capable of. And gents, really quick, I want to remind you, if you're watching this video, congratulations. You are a man that's worthy of success. You are taking steps to become your best self. Just really quick, just want you to remember and to acknowledge that. Okay, guys? All right, so that was daily. Now let's get into weekly. So exfoliating your skin. I was talking about washing your face on a daily basis. What about exfoliating? 2, maybe 3 times. I know a lot of guys think, oh, I should be doing this every day. No, don't. When you exfoliate, you are removing dead layers. And this is something, just have a couple days, maybe Tuesdays and Fridays you exfoliate. Give yourself some time between it. And this may not be necessary if you're under the age of 30, but I find once a guy's in his 40s, 50s, exfoliating is a great way to bring out a little bit more energy from the skin and make you look a little bit more youthful. Next up, let's talk about your nails. Weekly, you want to be trimming your nails. For me, it is Sunday mornings. I know Sunday morning rolls around. I've got these little habits, these little things I do. One of them is trimming my nails. And again, I know some of you guys could go longer in between this, but here's the thing. You want to be proactive, not reactive. Knowing that you're going out on a date and you are about to open the door to meet her and you realize you look at your nails and those things are nasty. Yeah, you ain't getting anything that night. Seriously, women look at nails. It's a very important thing to them. And if you've got bad nails, and guys, if you bite on your nails, if you've got issue with bad nails, go get a professional manicure. Seriously, if you spend money on your nails, nothing stops a man from biting his nails than knowing that he spent good money to make them look nice. And it's probably one of the quickest ways, easiest ways to kill that habit. Now, we talked earlier about shaving. Again, I don't shave on a daily basis, and I know a lot of you guys with facial hair, you're like, man, I don't shave at all, but you do want to take care of the beard, right? So on a weekly basis, you want to be going through shaping the beard. You want to be making sure that it is of the right length. Now, if your hair grows really fast in the face, this may be something you want to do twice a week. But seriously, when it comes to your beard, you don't want that thing looking sloppy. You want that thing making you look manly, making you look great. Now, what about your teeth? So we talked about brushing, flossing. We talked about using a mouthwash once a week, especially if you drink a lot of coffee, you drink a lot of dark tea. You may want to consider whitening your teeth. This becomes especially important as you age into your 50s and 60s. And nowadays, there are tons of at-home whitening kits. I know I use whitening toothpaste, and I try at least once a week. I oftentimes forget, but I try to be using a whitening strip to be able to remove the stains. Now, if you're looking to level up your style, you really need to check out my free community over on School. I've set this community up so we've got free classes that you can make your way through step by step and learn the basic foundations of men's style. We actually have giveaways. In fact, over the last year, I've given away over $25,000 in gear that has accumulated here in my office, and I love sending it out to you guys free of charge. And I have to say, the men that are in this group are friggin' awesome. We've got a no a-hole policy. People treat each other with respect. And what we've managed to create in this community is a place where a man can come in and ask questions and get some solid advice. So gents, use the link in the description of today's video. Go check out our free communities on School. These are for you to become the man you know yourself to be. Now, to this point, most of these maybe have seemed like no-brainers, but make sure that you are washing your sheets in your pillowcase, in particular, every week. You don't have to do it daily. You don't want to be doing it monthly. That's too long. But every week, you want to be stripping off your sheets and washing them. I see so many guys, I'm not usually jumping in other guys' beds, but I think you guys get the point. I grew up around, I have brothers, I have lots of roommates over the years, and we would not change out our sheets. I was guilty of this for coming in on a month or two. I mean, looking back, it was probably pretty nasty, but here's the thing. If you suffer from acne, if you have any type of skin irritation, it could be that you're not washing your sheets enough. Think about it. You're 8 hours a day in that bed. Your skin is rubbing up against those sheets. You got a lot of dead skin that builds up on those things. And it doesn't take a biologist to understand that where there is dead skin, you are going to start to get mite. You're going to start to get microscopic organisms that are feeding on that stuff. So yeah, seriously, take the sheets off. Wash them, especially the pillowcases. Because just because you can't see what is living in there doesn't mean it's not there. And special note, because I didn't mention it specifically, I do want to bring up your feet. So we talked about manicures, same thing. If you need to get a pedicure, go get it, but just take care of those. I know a lot of guys nobody sees them. I wear the socks over. I can go a full-on month without cutting my toenails. Guys, take care of your toes. Now, an important point here is never cut your toenails too short. I know as a kid, I did that and it led to an ingrown toenail, which is a horrible thing to have. You don't want that. But seriously, take care of your feet. You spend a lot of time on. Now, weekly, when it comes to routines with my clothing, I like to, again, on Sunday mornings, iron all of my shirts, the ones I'm going to need for the week. I'm usually doing family laundry on Saturdays, sometimes Sunday mornings, and right before my shirts are fully dry, I take them out of the dryer and I iron them quickly. Any jackets or outerwear, depending on the time of the year that I'm going to be wearing, I can run a steamer over them to get rid of wrinkles. I often will go through on jackets I'm already wearing. I'll use a clothing brush or one of those sticky things that removes hair. Yes, we have dogs and hair seems to get everywhere, so you got to stay on top of that stuff. And when it comes to other things, my sunglasses, I've got 2 to 3 pairs of sunglasses I rotate through. Usually I just spend a little bit of time, I go through and I wash them, I clean them. I also take this time to go through my shoes, more so in the winter, whenever I'm exposing my leather footwear to a lot of snow, sleet, and rain. I usually weekly just simply take a wet rag and I clean off all the salt, I clean off all the grime. If it's a particular pair of boots or shoes I'm wearing a lot, sometimes I will apply on a conditioner. Sometimes I wait a month to do this, but I find that, if I'm wearing it 4 to 5 times or pretty much every day that week, I'm going to condition those shoes to protect them. And then when I'm taking all my clothing up from the laundry, I am not only putting it away, but I'm also saying, hey, what is out of place? How could I better organize my closet so I can find what I'm looking for? Oh, and I almost forgot, because for me, this is probably once every 2 weeks, but trimming body hair. Again, I don't have a whole lot of body hair, but I know a lot of you guys, maybe you got a bit of a jungle down there, or it's just something that you want to take care of on a weekly basis. Again, have a system, have a routine, have a time and a place and the right tools to do this. Because yes, you don't want any accidents, but seriously, the right pair of clippers that gets close but is never going to bite. Yeah, that's pretty important when you're cleaning up certain areas. Next up, monthly, you want to be doing a testicular self-exam. I know some of you guys are like, come on, Antonio, like, I'm not a doctor. Well, here's the thing, is that you can feel yourself up once a month at least, and you get a baseline. You get an understanding of how things are down there. The reality is you want to catch this stuff early. And if you happen to find a lump, you notice something is swollen, something seems out of the ordinary, this is a great reason to go in and see a doctor. And if you're over the age of 30 or you spent a lot of time out in the sun, guys, you also want to be looking over at your skin and seeing if there's any moles, if there are any rashes that are developing, any acne, because again, all of this can be indicators that something else is going on. The other day, I mean, it was a good year ago, I had a rash going across my back. And it was on one side, and I was like, I also that night had a bit of heartburn, couldn't sleep well. I ended up showing it to my wife. And by the way, if you've got a partner who can examine your body for these type of things, that is a great partner to have. But immediately she's like, hey, I think you have shingles. You need to go to the doctor right now. And sure enough, I had it. I got the medication, and it was painful for a couple weeks, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it probably could have been if I hadn't gotten treated early. And again, this is something that at least on a monthly basis, preferably even more often, you're looking at yourself. You're checking yourself out. You're trying to spot issues when they're small, when they're tiny, when they're just getting started, before they become something big that's going to be a lot more painful and a lot more dangerous. Now, what about every season? So we're talking every 3 to 4 months. So you definitely want to be changing out the head on your toothbrush, getting a new toothbrush. Come on, don't be cheap here. You've used this thing well over 100 times. Time to get a new brush that has working bristles that are going to be able to get to where the toothbrush needs to get to. Every 3 months, every 4 months, we are changing seasons. So you want to be rotating through the items in your closet. Right now we're entering fall, so my summer clothing is going into the back of the wardrobe. I'm bringing up the sweaters, I'm bringing up the boots, bringing in the jeans, gray flannel trousers, the tweed sports jackets. Yeah, it's a great season. And as you're putting things back, putting them away for the season, check them out. See, do they need to be repaired? It's a lot easier to get a pair of shoes repaired or a shirt fixed when you can leave it with the seamstress, tailor, or cobbler for a month and not have to worry about needing it because, yeah, it's out of season and you can sometimes even get a better price if you say, hey, no hurry on this. It's also a great time to restock some of the basics, the foundation, your t-shirts, your polos, your white socks. These are things that you wore dozens and dozens of times. Let's face it, they're looking a bit worn, they're discolored a bit, so maybe it's time to ditch them and to put on your reminder list that you need to buy a new pair, but you're not in a hurry, so you can take advantage of those Black Friday sales, which are still a couple months out, but you know what you need, you're staying ahead, you're being proactive, not reactive. And right with that, plan one intentional upgrade. Look at your wardrobe, think about the way that you dressed this last season and say, hey, what's one item I can bring in that would really step up my style? And be on the lookout for it. Be looking for ways to step up your style. And guys, if you're interested in that, I've got a video for you right here, how to level up your style with just adding one item to your wardrobe. I made this video a while back. I think you're going to like it. Go check it out. Boom, right here. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Right there.